Join us for onsens, street food, and castles at the Osaka pop-up October 11th to 17th. Facebook group and sign-up link are in the show notes. Today, we're diving into what happens when full-time travel meets the desire to plant deep roots. Joining me from Kamakura, Japan is Filippo Bozotti, an Italian-born changemaker who has lived in West African tents, ran sustainable ecotourism hubs in Italy, and traveled the world with his young family. Now, after 2 years of living out of suitcases, he is launching Earthbound, a breathtaking microeducation project in southern Tuscany designed to bring worldschooling families back to nature. We're talking farm-to-table cooking, outdoor classrooms, and a massive wildlife oasis, and what it really looks like to slow down. Plus, Filippo drops some incredible insights on catching Japan's changing seasons. You'll want to listen all the way to the end to catch his best hidden gem food tip for Japan. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Wander World School podcast. I'm Susie, a travel-loving money nerd, mom of two, and our family lives between Spain and Colorado and soon Japan. On this show, we discuss the stories, logistics, and finances of traveling families and the many ways to learn along the way. Today, we get to know Filippo Bozotti from Italy. I'm very excited to have you on the show. Please tell me more about you and your family and where you're calling in from today.
Hi, Susie. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So my name is Filippo. I'm Italian. My wife, Marisela, is American, from Arizona. And we have two kids, Lilu, who's 5, and Oliver, who is 3. So still young. We've been traveling full-time, world schooling for 2 years now with Boundless Education. And we are developing a new project for outdoor education in Italy called Earthbound, launching next March, 2027. I am calling from Japan. I am here for 3 months with Boundless in Kamakura. Hello from Japan.
And before I hit record, I was asking you all the questions about Japan because that's where we'll be this fall. So I appreciate all the insights from the experienced families that have been there before. And I am very excited to learn more about Earthbound. We are going to get to this project in a little bit, but I love that there are opportunities for families in Italy. But let's step back a little bit and get to know you a little bit and understand where your love for travel started.
Sure. Look, I've been traveling all my life. I left Italy when I was, I think, 11 with my family. We come from like a small town outside of Milan, and we were the only people who left. I lived in Lexington, Massachusetts. I lived in France. I lived in Switzerland. Then I went back to Boston for college. Then I lived in New York. Then I lived in Sierra Leone. On a deserted beach. I've had projects in Papua New Guinea, in Fiji, in Bali. So I've been traveling all my life. It's not so much the traveling aspect for me. It's the standing still. That's the difficult part. When you start having kids, it's more difficult to travel like I used to travel. You know, I lived in a tent for a year in West Africa, but I can't do that with little ones. We were living in Italy. I had an ecotourism company in Umbria, in the countryside. We sold that a couple of years ago. We had an apartment in Rome. My wife is a Pilates teacher, so she was teaching Pilates there. We sold the apartment in Rome, sold everything, and, started traveling with Boundless just because with little kids, giving them an education, having an international community, it made sense. And so we're doing 3 months on, 3 months off. So we're doing spring and fall with Boundless, and winter and summer in Italy or in Switzerland with my family or in Arizona with my wife's family.
And we connected through a friend that did a Boundless cohort with you. In the past, you've done the Sintra cohorts and Syros, correct?
The Sintra, Syros, and Estepona.
You mentioned that you do spend some time with family in different places. And then also I'm curious, what has Boundless been like for you as a family with kids on the younger end?
We're fortunate that, we can spend 3 months in different locations around the world. So my parents live in Switzerland, and we spend time in the Swiss Alps in the winter, which is incredible, also in the summer. But after a few years of traveling like this without a base, without, basically living out of our suitcases for 2 years now, the one thing that we do miss is having a place where we can put our roots down. After a couple of years of traveling, we're trying to solve that issue and be a little less transient. Although it's been great to be boundless, I guess. Now we want to be earthbound.
That is a really good connection. I like that.
No fun. Boundless has been great as far as community aspect. They make it easy for you. And living in a place for 3 months, you're not on holiday there anymore. You're actually living there. You're experiencing it. Like we have this, beautiful house in Kamakura right on the beach. What we do want to do now, having learned from Boundless, seeing what we like and what we don't like, we need outdoor education for our children. And I think a lot of families do. We want them to be more in nature. Boundless offers really cool locations, but they're all, they got a model, they're all in towns. It's different. And also this thing of moving around all the time, after a while, it's becoming a bit too transient. And we would like to give the kids some more continuity, both with friends and with teachers. So that's the direction we're moving towards. But we're adopting a lot of the things that work really well from Boundless, like the community aspect, the co-working, the co-living, the Schengen, 90 days out of 180 days. Those are all things that make a lot of sense.
I think that that's a cool thing about being a traveling family and then turning around and taking the knowledge that you've learned and the experiences you've had and creating an opportunity that fits well for your family, but also can create opportunities for other families to join. Because that's one thing I do love about the Worldschooling is that there are other families that want to participate in these opportunities. They want the slow travel. They want to be in a location longer, and they want to find community in those places. And so creating these opportunities, that's why I like highlighting them on this podcast. I'm always so impressed with what people are coming up with. One question though about Japan. Did the cherry blossom season just happen? Is it happening now? Was it worth the hype?
Yeah, it happened as soon as we got here, beginning of April. It was amazing, but it only lasts 3 days, 4 days. Is it worth coming, doing a whole trip just to see the cherry blossoms? I don't know. We just happened to be here when it started, and it was incredible, especially in Kamakura. Like we went to see it in Tokyo, and it was good. But then we saw it in Kamakura, and there's the main strip that leads to the main shrine. It's full of cherries. And it was like a carpet of white petals. I mean, it was pretty fantastic. But you won't see it when you're here in September.
I have heard the leaves change beautifully. Yeah. And so I'm excited for that. That's my favorite part about fall. So I'm happy I won't miss that.
I think they're Japanese maples, I want to say, like, tiny maple leaves. And they're super beautiful. And I've seen pictures, but in September, when they all change colors, it looks incredible. So that might actually even be better than the cherry blossom because it lasts longer.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. I hope so.
Let me know.
So let's talk about your approach to education and languages. You are Italian-born and speak Italian. What other languages do you speak? You mentioned your wife is from the U.S. What does language look like for you and your family? And I know your kids are young. They're probably just picking up this, but I'm curious what your thought is around languages for your kids, especially as they get older.
Yeah, we speak a mix of Itanglish at home, I would say, which is probably not the correct way of doing it. But my wife speaks to them in English. She speaks Italian, but my wife and I speak English to each other because we met in New York. Kids speak Italian, speak English. They're bilingual, but definitely their first language is English now since we left Italy. Before we left Italy, their main language was Italian. Now it's English. I also speak French because I lived in France and Switzerland, and Spanish a little bit. It's a bit like Italian. I did like an intensive when I was in Estepona for 3 months. I mean, I see the benefits of growing up trilingual, so I want my kids to have that, whether it's Italian, English, and Spanish, or French, or Greek, or, 3 languages is good.
I think it's great that they'll have the foundation with English and Italian, and then from there can add on based on their interests or whatever, calls to them. You mentioned that you had the ecotourism company, and you sold that. You sold the apartment in Rome to hit the road for your travels. Share with us a little about the financial and logistical side of that.
So I had a company called Tribe Wanted, and we developed ecotourism, like sustainable communities for ecotourism around the world, but like really off the beaten path. So we had a deserted island in Fiji and another one in Papua New Guinea, and it was like a deserted beach in Sierra Leone. And I did that for 10 years, and it was an amazing lifestyle, living together with local communities. And then we had this 15th century hamlet in Umbria that we retrofitted and we turned into a sustainable hamlet. We hosted 30 guests at the time, and we were living self-sufficiently as far as food and energy and everything. So that lifestyle I miss a ton. I don't miss the ecotourism part, the tourism aspect after 10 years, but I miss the lifestyle. But we did sell the company in 2022 and, sold the house in Rome. And now we've just been traveling with passive income. So I invested the money in bonds and live off of that. My two main projects now are, 5-year-old and 3-year-old and Earthbound. But Earthbound, what we're doing is not for profit. It's just about a way of life and the kind of education that we want our children to have. That's the focus right now.
I know you said you sold the company. Is there still an opportunity for people to visit this?
Yeah, it's not as good as it used to be when I was there. But I still have my horses there. I still go back. It's called Monestevole. It's on the Trasimeno Lake. It's a really beautiful, stunning location. It's being taken over by a German group. So they're more catering for, your family's German. So I think they do like courses, like yoga courses and osteopathy courses and stuff like that now.
We were staying on the Amalfi Coast, and I just picked a hotel there that was honestly affordable. That's how I picked it and had a nice view. And I was like, oh, it's also a German restaurant and hotel.
Yeah, there's a ton of Germans. Also, my house in Rome was purchased by a German.
The weather in Germany is not the greatest, so they have to migrate south in order to get some sunshine. It sounds like, though, with your background in ecotourism and sustainable living, that has been a launching point, I'm guessing, for what you're creating with Earthbound.
Totally. One thing always leads to another, but I was working with the Green School in Bali for a few years through my ecotourism company. We had one project in Bali, in Ubud, at the Cool Farm, which was the permaculture farm of the Green School. And then the Green School would take 30 students for a month to my location, Monestevole, in Italy, over the summer to do a full immersion in Italian sustainable living. So the experience that I had with this kid from the Green School in Umbria, that was the eureka moment for me. It was kind of like if all the kids in the world were like this, it'd be a different world. So I saw what education, alternative education done well, could do to kids. And I mean, these kids were with us for a month, and then they were going to present at the Paris Climate Conference to world leaders, like that level. That's when I was inspired about alternative education, outdoor education, project-based learning. We've been playing with this idea for a while, and now that my kids, my oldest is 5, it's now or never. I don't want to wait until she's 10 to do something like this.
So share with us a little more about what Earthbound will look like. And then you mentioned some of the parts about alternative education that you really like. And I'm curious if you can pull out a little more about what you love about what you saw before and how you're incorporating that into Earthbound.
It's going to be a microeducation project. We're going to start with 12, 15 families. And it's going to be based in southern Tuscany in a town called Capalbio, which is the southmost tip of Tuscany, closest to Rome. So it's an hour and 15 minutes from Rome. So it's, again, from Boundless, we've learned that you want to be close to a big city and airport. But it's going to be in the countryside and on the beach. I was fortunate. This friend of mine has this incredible property, which is 1,000 hectares, which is huge for Italy. And it's right on the coast, and it's a WWF oasis. So on it, he has lakes and flamingos and regenerative agriculture. That's kind of his main business. But they have a glamping site with 60 bungalows. Really beautiful. And then they have 27 villas on this property. And we are renting 12 to 15 of the bungalows. They're 2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, right on the beach. Everybody's got their own space, but we're all on the same location, immersed in nature, right on the beach. A few pools, spa, bistros, restaurants. And then we have a villa where we will be doing the school. And again, the whole point is that the classroom is everywhere. So we have the villa, but which we can probably fit up to 35, 40 students. But the whole point is that the classroom is everywhere, right? Another good friend of mine is the lead alternative educator in Italy. He started 27 schools in Italy. So he's got a lot of contacts, and he's going to be the principal of the school. His name is Danilo. And he has put together a great team of educators, mostly Waldorf-based educators. It's going to be bilingual, so it's going to be English, Italian. So everybody obviously is fluent in both. Probably throw some Spanish in there as well, since we have a Spanish educator. It's going to be for ages 4 to 11, mixed age classes, super small groups, like 6-to-1 student-teacher ratio. And the curriculum is going to be very much tailored for every child. Because it's so small and because we have the time to do it, we wanted to make sure that it was, done exactly how we wanted to do it, because it's not something that we want to grow into a business. I don't want to compete with Boundless. We're not looking to have 10 locations around the world. We just want to have one location where we put our, roots down for 6 months of the year. So we're doing spring and fall. 12 weeks on, 12 weeks off. Schengen reason, but also, the location is a tourism location. So they're giving us the shoulder seasons. We couldn't be there for the summer, for example, because that's their high season. And in the winter, to be honest, we prefer to be somewhere else, whether it's the mountains or Thailand or wherever. There's also a likely possibility that a bunch of the families in the winter will do like a pop-up few months somewhere else and take some of the teachers with them.
This is so great. And so you're thinking about people and their travel schedules, perhaps, trying to pick a location that is beautiful during the shoulder season. And I've really thought about this a lot recently as we're getting into the summer, how much I love being places before the high season. And actually this summer, we have zero plans to travel over the summer. We're going to be taking advantage of other people traveling by doing house sitting. And I'm happy to take the summer off because it means that we get to take advantage of travel when it's not everyone else out there. I know the program will launch next year, but what do you envision for a perfect day at the Earthbound Education Center or for the families that are participating?
All right. So we have a van service because it's all on the same property, but it's so big that, it's a beautiful private road in the middle of the property, but it's 10 kilometers away. So they get picked up at the glamping site and they're in school, I think, from 9 till 3:30. We have 4 educators. We have a local cook who is going to be making farm-to-table food. The kids will participate in the cooking activities, making pasta, making pizza. We'll have permaculture gardens and a few animals. So, the kids will get their hands dirty doing that as well. We'll also have an outdoor kind of builder educator. She will help. She will build, tree houses with the kids or whatever it is that they decide to build. So we have the opportunity to do all of that. Plus, we are 500 meters from the beach. We're in nature. There's just fields, forests, and wild beaches in front of us. The whole point is that it's not just about outdoor education like you're reading a book outside. It's that the classroom is everywhere, right? So it's doing a project, and within that project, you're learning about a little bit about everything. But we do want to make sure that the academics are superior. So, we've hired high-quality educators, and we're paying them more than most schools do in Italy, just because we want to invest in the educators that we're giving to our children. As far as the families go, there's a ton of activities that one can do, from sailing to biking. I mean, the great thing about Capalbio is that you got the countryside behind you and the sea in front of you. So you get the best of both worlds, right? Like, I like horse riding. I'm going to take my horses there. It's an incredible place to bike. You can do the wine harvest, the olive harvest. And then on the other side, you have the beach. So obviously beach life, sailing, island hopping. There's a beautiful archipelago there, beautiful peninsula called Argentario. And then you're an hour and 15 minutes from Rome. So you can jump on a train and go to Rome for the day. You do need a car. We're providing a van to take the kids to school, but you need a car to go to the farmer's market or the supermarket or the pharmacy or whatever. The closest towns are 10 minutes away. Capalbio is a beautiful medieval town perched on top of a hill. And then there was Orbetello, which is like a coastal town, also super beautiful. I mean, you're in Siena in less than an hour. You're in Montalcino, where they make Brunello, in less than an hour. Saturnia, which is like the most famous spa town, is right there. So there's a ton of stuff to do, but the great thing is that we're all going to be living next to each other, right? So what I envision it is a lot of us hanging out at the bistro. We have a co-working space there, kids running around on the property. We have a pool, like a shared pool all together. So it's, the kids can literally walk from one bungalow to the next.
Your home shouldn't be a reason to stay. It's your ticket to go. My ebook, How to Rent Out Your House While Traveling, teaches you how to set up systems to rent out and manage your property remotely. Turn your house into a travel asset that pays for your adventures. Grab the ebook and the free 30-minute consult today at the link in the show notes. Let's get you on the road. You bring up a good point that I love to be places where I don't need a car. It is lovely to have public transit and things out your front door. However, there's usually a trade-off with the outdoor, the nature aspect of that. And sometimes if you really want to be out in nature, you are not going to have as well-connected public transit. But there's also hidden gems in all these different towns and cities, and where you can access those much easier with a car.
Yeah.
It's sometimes nice to be in a place where I can have the city life and the culture and public transit. But I love mixing it up with going to very rural outdoor nature places where, you just need a car to really see what's there. And that's okay, too, to have that balance.
Yeah. And we really kind of wanted to have a bit of both. That's why we wanted to find a place that was so close to Rome, not just for the ease to go to the airport, but just, going into a beautiful big city if you want to get that fix, while the kids are in school. Also, you have a car, but you don't need to drive every day. Maybe a couple of families can share one car. It doesn't have to be one car per family. To us, outdoor education is so important, and being in nature is so important. Getting your hands dirty, my kids are already loving gardening and collecting eggs from the chickens and horses and all of that. And I don't want them to lose that. I want to create the world that, the dream world for them. That's what we're trying to do.
I looked up the WWF Oasis, means it's part of the World Wildlife Fund to safeguard biodiversity, local ecosystems, and endangered species. So that will be your backyard for Earthbound, which is an amazing opportunity, like you said, to really connect with nature and those opportunities there. When does the first cohort kick off next year?
Kicks off on March 6th, 2027 for 12 weeks, so until the end of May. And then the second cohort is early September until early December. What we're asking people is to commit to 2 cohorts for that same reason of having continuity with the teachers and with the friends, which is something that we've been struggling with a bit after a couple of years.
Great. And where can people find out more information about Earthbound?
So earthbound.living is the website, and you can shoot me an email directly from the website, and then we can set up a call with me, with Danilo, the school principal, and then we'll take it from there. We're starting to take deposits this summer. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than Boundless, but it's not cheap. I'm paying just as much as everybody else. I am one of the families. Terre di Sacra, the location that is hosting us, we're paying directly to Terre di Sacra for the bungalow, which is 4,000 euros a month. And then the co-working space is 900 euros per family, and that includes all the concierge service that Terre di Sacra is giving us. And then the school fees are 1,500 euros per child. So a family of 4 is 7,900 a month, but for 6 months of the year.
And I'm looking at the photos. The gallery is amazing. Photos of the pool, the resort, the beach, the outdoor space. It looks very lovely. So I'll make sure to link all that in the show notes. Let's also touch on the challenges and the wins. Maybe your challenge is one reason that you have started to work on creating Earthbound, or if there's any other things that have come up for you, any other struggles as a traveling family, then we'll touch on the wins as well.
I mean, the challenges are living out of a suitcase. It's great at the beginning, but after a while, it starts to be a bit of a challenge, at least for us, maybe not for everybody. And then, to be honest, the biggest challenge for Boundless for us is not having outdoor space. Might work for some families, doesn't work for us. So it was fine for a few years, but we need more. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, the reason we're doing, I really didn't want to do this. I wanted to find something because I know what it takes to start a project in Italy like this. It's been 2 years in the making. I've been thinking about it, and finally it was like, it's now or never. And it's kind of, if not me, who? I still don't know what I don't know. It hasn't started yet. I still don't know if it will be successful. We need 12 people to make it work financially. Again, it's not for profit, but it needs to stand on its own 2 feet financially. And we're not nickeling and diming as far as the location and the teachers. The biggest challenge there for us was we didn't find this kind of project anywhere in Europe. The Green School in Bali, but we didn't want to live in Bali. There is Green School in New Zealand, in South Africa. There's some cool outdoor education project like in Andalusia, but it's in weird towns like Soto Grande, like super artificial. So we really didn't find something that was a good fit for us. And we really wanted to be in Italy because I'm Italian and I don't want my kids to lose the Italian cultures. To me, this is kind of an idyllic location, best of both worlds. If we can make it happen and do it successfully, then it's a dream.
I love that you're putting it out there so that people who are in the same shoes, they're like, oh, this is what I want. I want the nature. I want Italy. They are going to be super excited that you're putting all this effort in. Let's highlight any wins that you've experienced as a traveling family.
I mean, as a traveling family, it's been an incredible experience. I would do it all over again. I am super happy we had these incredible life experiences, both for us, Maricela and I, and for the kids. How amazing to live in Japan for 3 months. I mean, you can tell that story forever, the cultural immersion for the kids at this young age. It's, really turning them into world citizens, like regardless of the quality of the education that they're getting at this age or whether or not it's outdoor education. Like it's been, I would say the best thing about it is the community aspect, like the incredible amount of like-minded international families that we're meeting. It's one of the reasons we left Italy is we didn't have this. We had a beautiful place in the countryside in Umbria, but there's no international community to speak of, and so that's not where I want my kids to grow up. And also for my wife, she's American, she wanted an international community. Worldschooling has really given us that. That aspect is priceless. And now we have a network of like-minded families all over the world.
Yeah. And hopefully some will join you in Italy next year. So gotta keep spreading the word. Let's wrap up with a lightning round. I'm curious what your best or worst food that you've ever tried.
Here in Japan, I had this incredible sushi. I'm gonna say it to you now because you're coming here. So it's called sushi masa. It's a tiny hole in the wall, just counters, no table, and the guy just makes the most incredible sushi right in front of you. So do go to that. Worst food. I've had some weird food in Africa. Like one time they brought us a headless python with a half-digested deer inside its belly. That was not pleasant, but also really good food in Sierra Leone. So yeah, it's a mix of everything.
You get to see what different cultures eat, and choose to try it or not.
Or not, yeah.
What is the first thing you do when you arrive somewhere new?
Explore. I always want to know, like, what does the way of the land look like here? Like what's where, like what's around the corner. So like walk around for 3 days.
Yeah, just get out. I like that advice.
Yeah.
And if you could teleport to one place right now, where would it be?
Galapagos. It's my bucket list.
And it's hard to get to, perhaps. So if you can teleport there, it would be a much easier way to get there.
Exactly.
We did a Would You Rather at dinner this weekend. And one of them was, would you rather be able to teleport or would you rather be able to time travel? I was a little torn on that one. Like my whole family had this long discussion over which one we would choose. What one would you choose? Teleport or time travel?
What did you choose?
I said teleport because I would love to see more of the world right now. But I'm very curious about time travel, like just to go back and travel around 100 years ago, but not have to stay put, or to see what the futures look like so I don't worry about the future so much for my children.
Yeah, I'd say time travel. The Earth is small enough that you can see all of it if you want in your lifetime, but time travel. Yeah. Although I have to say, like, I used to have this thing that, I have to see every single country in the world. Now that I'm getting older and wiser, I'm like, you know what? Now when we go to a place, it's got to be for, a few months. Like I don't like to do 5 days anymore somewhere with kids, but also it's environmentally, it's a nightmare to do something like that. And now it's not about, doing 200 countries, but it's doing 100 countries well.
Absolutely. I love the concept of slow travel, and opportunities like Earthbound will give people a chance to really immerse themselves for 3 months, back to back, 6 months in one location. I'm going to make sure to link everything about Earthbound in the show notes so that people can check it out. I'll put the dates in there. Any other things that you want me to add on to?
If you want to share the location, it's called Terre di Sacra.
I've been looking at the website and these villas, the cottages, the resorts, the glamping, it looks amazing. So great location. Proximity to Rome, but also to be away from a big city would be a perfect combination.
And also away from mass tourism, because it's not a mass tourism kind of place. One of the other great things about doing 3 months on, 3 months off is that you really get to experience it in different times, because you're coming to Japan in September, you don't get to see the cherry blossom, like if you go to Italy in March or April or May, you don't get to do the wine harvest or the olive harvest. So if you're spending 6 months there, you're ticking a lot of the boxes, that each season has to offer.
Absolutely. And you can really connect the seasons to the nature and see that transition through the seasons.
And that's part of the education process as well, right? Like it's, especially with Waldorf education, it's about seasonality, right? It takes its time. A plant takes however long it takes to grow, right? If you're only there for 3 months, you can plant it, but you don't get to harvest it, right? So, having that come full circle is really important for us.
And I've thought about that with my kids, is understanding the seasonality of food as well. Because when we shop at grocery stores, you can have strawberries year-round, perhaps, but we know that they're much better when it's in season. So it's nice to tune into that seasonality of food as well as weather and nature and outdoor spaces. Absolutely. Well, this has been delightful to learn more about Earthbound. I can't wait to share this so people can tune into the website, check it out, join you guys next year. I'm glad that you're starting early enough that you can really tap into those families that are planning for next year. I'm a bit of a planner, so I'm already thinking about next year, and I know other people are too. We'll make sure that they can check out all the opportunities there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susie. Bye, guys.
That's a wrap. If you enjoyed it, would you click in to leave a review right now? I appreciate the support, and follow along on Instagram, Facebook, and Substack.